The truth is, I traveled from Jerusalem to be here. I'm from Montreal originally.
Hey, you're back to say fair.
Yeah. My name is Patrick Amar. Nice to meet you. I don't know if you've ever met a Jewish Patrick before. Have you ever met a Jewish Patrick before?
Sure, Patrick.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about that, right? Because actually my name is a big part of my Jewish identity. My parents came from Morocco, where they spoke French. They moved to Montreal, the second largest French-speaking city in the world. And when they moved there, you know, they kept their Jewish traditions with them, but they wanted us to fit in. So they gave us names to fit in. Patrick fits into French Canada. But when I was 8 days old, they also whispered into my ear and announced in the synagogue that my name is David. Right? So I like to think of myself as David or David on the inside and Patrick on the outside. And in that way, I think Patrick's a very Jewish name. You know, we all have struggles with our Jewish identity, and it's very related to Israel. Right? Does Israel have another name? Yeah, like what? Sion? What else?
Israel.
Eretz Israel. What else? Come on. Haaretz. What else? The Holy Land. What else? Palestine. What else? The land of milk and honey. The promised land. Medinat Israel. Right? It has many names. Does Canada have other names? Not really, huh? What was the old name, like indigenous name of Canada? I think it's Canada. Canada means is an Indian name. It's a village.
New
Huh?
France and then
Oh right, New France. Thank you.
and then Upper Canada.
Upper Canada, Lower Canada. Thank you. All right. No, it's true. Our name is our identity, and just like I have different names, I have different identities. And just like Israel has different names, it also has different identities. Israel means different things to different people. And we all know that. And, you know, the talks that I've been present at the last couple of sessions have been really about getting our message across to other people. Easy? Hard? How about like really, really hard? How about really hard? You know, I'm here today speaking. I'm in Toronto, then I'm going to Chicago, then I'm going to LA. Has anybody been to Israel with me? With me? A few of you? You should be here. I'm a tour guide in Israel. I moved there about 10 years ago, and I work with Aish, and also with the JWRP and Hasbara fellowships and private families who come to Israel. And kind of what got me there is that I was a student in Montreal at Concordia University 15 years ago, where it was a very difficult place to be a Jewish college student, right? And I was studying political science, and kind of my first semester in Concordia was also the eruption of the Second Intifada in Israel. And whoa, we were not ready for it. We were not expecting it, right? You guys know the story. Benjamin Netanyahu came to campus, and there were riots, and his talk got shut down, and student government on campus used its means to boycott Israel, to apply sanctions against the Hillel. You guys know the story, right? Looking back on it 15 years later, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm blessed now to be married to a beautiful woman who's actually from Toronto. 5 beautiful kids. I get to inspire people about Israel and have a meaningful experience in Israel every day of my life. And it's all because of that SPHR and those Palestinians on campus. It's all because, thank you, Samar Elatrash and Rashid Mohammed. Thank you, really. No, I'm serious, thank you. Because by them kind of exposing themselves and attacking us, it made me question who I am, and why I am, and why I support Israel. It's very nice to kind of like, yeah, I support Israel, and they're like, okay, why? I don't know. Because my parents told me? Yeah, but my parents told me something different, right? And it was at times scary, at times dangerous, at times exhilarating, and it really made me kind of like have to examine why, and how, and who, and ask myself the questions. And so a lot of what the talks have been about today is how to like speak to others about Israel. I'd like to talk about how we should speak to ourselves about Israel. How we should speak to our kids about Israel. And how we should connect them to Israel. And you know, when you go to like speak, people are like, why are you here? What are you doing here? You live in Israel. After Toronto, I'm going to Chicago, then I'm going to LA. And you know, I've guided hundreds of people from Toronto and Chicago and LA, and I want to visit these places. First of all, it's important for me. Okay, this is a very important synagogue right here. This is a very important Jewish community here in the world. Toronto, you know it. A Montrealer saying that has even more value, right? Don't tell me to root for the Leafs, but you know what I'm saying. This is one of the most important Jewish communities in the world. And your connection to Israel, like, you know, for a second I'm kind of cynical, and that's why I kind of started off with that. The truth is, do we need to be doing this day? Like a lot of people can say, like, oh, you're just preaching to the choir. Okay, let's think about the opposite. We didn't do this day today. 250 people didn't show up to hear a dozen different speakers from, you know, across different ideas. What would you be doing today? You know, shopping? Watching the Blue Jays season opener, which starts at 4, by the way, so don't worry. I know some of you are like out the door for that. I heard about it. They're like, Patrick, I know you just flew from Israel, and I'd love to attend your talk, but it's the Blue Jays season opener today. Okay. This is important. This, you know, you might not leave here and go and change the opinion of the Muslim Student Union at York University. But you may change yourselves. You will change yourselves. And I think that's what's important. It changed me. Almost all the students that were involved with me at Hillel in Montreal, Concordia, and in Toronto, and in London, at Western, and in the States, so many of them we now live in Israel. So many of us are involved in like Jewish causes and Israel causes. So what is it? How do you do that? How do you connect? And I see different age groups here. I see some younger teens in the back, maybe the grandparents, the parents. It's like very multi-generational. And I think everybody's got kind of their role. So, you know, the Jewish people were famous. I am in a shul, so I can whip out a book, right? The Jewish people were famous for saying 2 words. Naaseh v'nishma. Naaseh v'nishma. What does that mean? It means we'll do it and then we'll figure it out. Let's do it and then we'll make a plan. We're not very good planners. We're good doers. The state of Israel was created by Naaseh v'nishma. Okay, there was the Zionist movement 50 years earlier, laying down the groundwork, building the JNF, buying land, the Jewish Agency to educate and to facilitate Aliyah, and the United Israel Appeal to raise the money, right? But once the state of Israel was established, it said, go do it. We went from 600,000 Jews to 1.2 million in 3 years. We're still in the process of building a country. We're still figuring it out. We're still in the nishma part, but we did it, Naaseh v'nishma. So if you ever want to go speak somewhere, and I'm sure some of you are speakers here, you call up a congregation somewhere, you go, hi, I'd like to come speak in your shul or your community center. You know what the first question is they're going to ask you? Yeah, what are you going to speak about? All right, good question. And then they have to come up with like a fancy title. You ever see these titles for talks? They are, let me show you, because I was dealing with somebody from Toronto, from Chicago, and she was asking me this question, what are you going to talk about? I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk about connecting your kids to Israel. She's like, no, that's not good. We're very advanced over here. We need more than that. So let me read to you what she wrote to me about what my talk should be. I love this. First of all, she writes, too heavy, 5 times. Here's the title. Inspired Destiny, Forging a Positive Self-Identity for the Modern Jew. Join us for a very special evening with Jewish educator, historian, and Israeli tour guide Patrick Amar with his rare blend of political, historical, and Judaic knowledge. Patrick will provide critical insights into the relevance of the past holds for the future of the Jewish people and humanity. And I was like, I'm a tour guide. Like, I'm here to tell people to, like, visit Israel and show you Masada and decide if you should climb it or take the cable car. Like, what are you telling me? I'm going to talk about the relevance of humanity here. Like, let's just take a step back. What we're doing here is very important. I have been doing Hasbara for 15 years, and I realized that, guess what? You guys in the back, it's worse now than it was 15 years ago. So what's going on? Are we doing a bad job? Are they so much better than us? Hey, those are real questions. It's harder now. And being an activist, and many of you are, whether you're a Monday morning activist, a Facebook status updater, a rally organizer, somebody who shows up when they're called, it's a high burnout factor. It's a very thankless job. To be yelled at and criticized. To be a college student today, it's not fun, right? It's not fun. And it's hard to explain. And everybody has sympathy. And I think at the end of the day, if we're going to change anybody's opinion, is we should change our own opinions. And don't think that the job is done just because you're here today. The job's never done. It's our job as parents, as grandparents, as community members, to make sure that the choir knows how to sing. To make sure that the choir knows the hymns and knows the tunes and shows up for choir practice. Okay? Because you're not going to be very good without practice. And so Naseh v'nishma, somebody in LA, the Aish in LA said, oh yeah, come speak. What are you going to speak about? And I was like, I don't know. They're like, why don't you speak about connecting your kids to Israel? I said, okay, I can do that. Naseh v'nishma. I'll do it, and I got to figure out what I'm going to say. How do you connect your kids to Israel? So I started to think, well, I have 5 kids, little. The way that I'm connecting them to Israel is that I picked up and I made Aliyah and I had them there. And I hope that will connect them to Israel. And then my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and so on and so forth. And that's definitely part of the reason why I moved to Israel. The ultimate connection. But then I started thinking, no, that's no good. I don't really know how to connect my kids to Israel. But hold on. What about me? I was connected to Israel. What did my parents do? What did my grandparents do? Did they really do anything? That was my choice. They wanted me to go. I didn't get in. Thankfully. So what did they do? Started thinking about it. And then why do I have this prayer book? Because lo and behold, I open up the daily prayer of Shema Yisrael. And I read the pasuk, and when you're really thinking about something, sometimes the answer is right in front of you. I was like, wow, there's the answer right there. So I'll read a pasuk that you guys all know. We are in a synagogue after all, right? The first paragraph of Shema, you all recited at your bar mitzvah and your bat mitzvah, and many of you say it twice a day, right? It says, V'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha bevetecha, u'lechtecha baderech, u'vshachtecha, u'vkumecha. There's actually 5 points in there of how to teach your kids and yourselves how to connect to Judaism and Israel. It's a blurry line. So really, I'm connecting to both, because I think, I'm sure you'll agree, that kind of the more Jewish you are, and the more Jewish you act, or the more Jewish you feel, the more connected to Israel you'll feel. It's not to exclude anybody who's not Jewish, because many people feel a similar connection without sharing the religion. But, the biggest problem that we face is not the Palestinians on campus. It's the 70% who are walking by and don't care. And who are vulnerable, right? And those are the ones we want to get to and try to shape their opinion. I think that's what Faye demonstrated so beautifully. So it says here, V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha bevetecha u'vlechtecha baderech u'vshachtecha u'vkumecha. So there's actually 5 points in there. The first thing is V'shinantam levanecha. What does that mean? You will teach it to your children, or you will talk to your children. Talk about Israel. Talk about it. And, very often with kids, we talk and they don't listen, right? I'm a tour guide, I'm there in the front of the bus, and I see everybody kind of like this in the back. I see you over there. Okay. You keep doing it because I know that you are listening. I know that you're listening. All of you, all of us, we multitask. We could be like this, da 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 da, but we can listen. We have 5 senses. We're incredible beings. Especially kids, they're sponges. So you don't always have to talk to a kid, but you do have to talk around the children. And I'll tell you as an example, I remember growing up, the Shabbos dinner, the Friday night dinner we had, and Israel was a topic of discussion, and sometimes argument. My Egyptian stepfather who had one opinion about the Arabs, and my brother who went to McGill who had another opinion about the Arabs. And I was there as a younger child kind of hearing this. And that was important to me. Had we not spoken about it in the home, then it wouldn't be important to me. You've got to speak to your kids. Vishinantam levanecha. And the words vishinantam are actually very interesting words because there's other ways to say teach your children. Vishinantam is like shinayim, like your teeth. That it should be inside your mouth like your teeth. You should know this stuff. You should know this stuff. And today, according to surveys of people who come on birthright, they couldn't even tell the difference between the War of Independence and the 6-Day War. They don't know who Golda Meir or David Ben Gurion from King David. I mean, really, this is a reality, and I know it as a tour guide because, you come to Israel, you know a lot, but you also don't know a lot, right? And it takes 7, 8, 9, 10 days to walk away from Israel understanding more than you did, not in 20 minutes, not in an hour, right? You need 10 days. So it's got to be in your mouth, like your teeth. The other thing is that, what happens to teeth? They fall out. You have your baby teeth, then you have your adult teeth. Right? The way you talk to a 10-year-old child about Israel is not the same way you talk to a 25-year-old, or to a 50-year-old, or to an 80-year-old. It's not the same. And we all have our notions and our ideas that we remember from being children, and then we mature with them. And we learn new things about Israel, and we understand Israel differently, especially when it comes to the conflict, or to our religious connection to Israel, or the history and how it relates to us. Right? So that's Vishinantam Levanecha. V'dibarta bam. And speak about them. B'shivtecha bevetecha. That's the second one. When you're sitting in your homes, when you're dwelling in your homes. And this is, to me, I think, the most important one, is that we connect through osmosis. Is your home Jewish? Is your home Israeli? What does that mean? Do you have art on your walls? Do you have a mezuzah on your door? Do you have Manischewitz breadcrumbs for Passover in the pantry? Do you have Israeli wine in your Passover Seder? I started wearing my kippah, my yarmulke, at Concordia out of loyalty, not out of faith. I didn't grow up religious, we grew up kind of traditional. Again, Patrick David. You keep your Judaism on the inside. And it's synagogue, you're David, and that's the safe place. But outside, you don't have to show too much. But when I was in university, I started to represent the Jews. I wanted to be a Jewish representative. And a lot of people feel that as well. So I put on the kippah. And other people started to notice. And then I had to live up to my own standards that I'm establishing to myself. That's why Tzfat is full of Jewish art. That's why the Cardo in the old city of Jerusalem. That's why King David Street in Jerusalem, any other great boulevard in a great city in the world like Paris or Prague or Amsterdam, on the main streets are going to have Tiffany's and Louis Vuitton and Prada. In Israel, we have menorah shops and Kiddush cups. And that's what people want to buy. Because it's bringing a piece of Israel and placing it into your home. And I'll give you a good example of myself again growing up. It's where you place those items. I remember growing up, I grew up pretty much in front of the TV. Right? Like so many of us do. I forgot about it. A lot of people can still recite Simpsons lines word by word. I can't do it. Okay? A few Seinfeld jokes I still have in my mind, but. And I remember that my TV was in the living room, and around my TV was the bookshelf. And on the bookshelf we had, older generation, I guess we had the record player and the 8-track, and we had the books, Do you know what an encyclopedia is in the back? I think Britannica has gone the way of Kodak. What's an encyclopedia? Oh, you mean Wikipedia? Yeah, there used to be like a book set of encyclopedia. And there used to be on my bookshelf books about cooking and about literature. And there were a few books there, Israel, right? Jewish history, up on the top there. The Torah, the Pentateuch. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? I even remember a little wooden statuette of Moses holding the 2 of the 10 Commandments. And as I was sitting there watching TV, I'd always kind of glance around. And those images are engraved in me. And I think, you know, and I say this also, I tour a lot of families. And I'm a big advocate for travel to Israel. And this is the third one. Letecha b'derech. Actually go to Israel. I am a moreh derech. Okay? I'm a teacher of the path. And the path is to get up and go to Israel and send your kids to Israel. And now I'm preaching to the choir, but let's think of it like in the big picture. It's never been easier to go to Israel than it is in 2016. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You don't have to pay for it anymore. They're giving it away for free. Birthright? It's like this. This is my understanding, because I actually went on the first birthright trip, and it also very, very much influenced my life. And you start to think about these things, like why did somebody just pay for my trip to Israel? Why? $1 billion has been spent on birthright in the last almost 15 years. That's a lot of money. And how about the JWRP?